I'm happy to be here today and be shoulder to shoulder with the Governor of the Virgin Islands, Albert Bryan Jr., and also the delegate to Congress, Tracy Plaskett. As a lifelong and a career law enforcement officer, it certainly pained my heart to see what transpired in that situation in Minneapolis, where the police department is currently under investigation. But I cringe when I continue to see that video, and obviously with George Floyd and his life being snuffed out of him. We have come a long way. For 400 years, we've been under this struggle. We've come a long way. Right here in the Virgin Islands, we're in the Bottle Park, and in 1848, we were granted emancipation, demanded emancipation as a result of a fire burn. And it took almost 15 years later for us to be able to get any recognition. And we continue to be challenged by having inadequate opportunities, in terms of economic prosperity. So certainly it brings back a whole lot of memories as I stand here, as I continue to go through the emotions that's being felt by individuals in the nation. But we're fighters, we're survivors, and I'm happy to be here today. And I know that we'll continue to fight, but we want to certainly extend our condolences to the Floyd family and all of those individuals. When we go back, we saw Brianna, for Brianna Taylor, for example, Trayvon Martin, and so many others that continue to be struggled. And we're not really asking for revenge here. We're asking for equality. And
Black Lives Matter. It's so important for us to just echo that. And I also want to say, I can't breathe. When I heard those sentiments by George Floyd, I couldn't help but think of Eric Gardner. But I didn't stop there. I couldn't help but think of all those freedom fighters in the 1960s and before. I couldn't help but think about those individuals who paved the way for us. And I want to say this, as an individual with approximately 30 years in law enforcement, I recognize that law enforcement in parts have failed the black community. When we see a law enforcement officer sitting on the neck of someone, particularly an African American, there's a responsibility for someone to do something, say something, get up. We just can't sit idly by and observe excessive force and do nothing about it. We've seen patterns of excessive force in the black community time in and time out. Folks, I've lived and worked in the United States in law enforcement for at least 26 years, and I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've told those in blue that I work alongside about the issue of desperate and unequal treatment between how they treat black folks and other folks. We address the hard issue. We have those conversations. It's so important that every community receive constitutional police. Recognize that right here in these very Virgin Islands, we have a park here dedicated to freedom fighters, and yet we're still fighting for freedom. We're still fighting for the ability to simply just breathe. I support people's rights to protest. I believe that there is no better forum than this very moment to stand up and be counted. Hear your voice, state your voice, and be counted.
Born in a society where everybody was black. I remember when I first realized that black was not the majority in the US. I thought that the whole world looked like this. But even in a majority society, I still see all the signs of racism and oppression that keep our people down. It's the same reason why in a society that's all black, we still suffer from the same health disparities. We suffer from the same gun violence in our communities. We suffer from the lack of education and the same scoring. So it must be institutional. See, because even in a situation where we're all black, we all have the same maladies. But I'm going to be a black man till I die. And my dad explained to me at a very young age that I was not born with nature's passport and that I would have to do 3 times, 4 times, 10 times as much in order to make it. But every day I wear black. And that black represents a lot more than just standing up and standing out. It's a representation to every single black man every day that we can do. We can be educated. We can raise our children. We can do the things that have never been done before. And change does not come easy. This has been 400 years. And where some of us thought that we had reached the mountaintop when Obama rose, but it was just another piece of incremental change. People understand when the last shot goes in and the buzzer rings and you win the game, but they didn't see the years of effort, training, running, shooting, doing all the things that would make you ready for that last moment. This is the first quarter, and we are still struggling for equality and equity in all over Black America, and especially us in the territories that experience this, even though the people of color are in charge. And George Floyd is another one of us. A constant reminder that we have so much work to do. Stay woke. Remember, today we see the social change, the uprising of our communities in defiance of what has happened. Now we got to make them feel the economic change, the change in our currency and how we spend our money. And finally, we have to make them feel a political change, that we will stand up and run. It's a crazy thing that I am the only Black governor in the entire United States elected by a Black majority. Why? We've got to take the positions from small and make the policy changes that will stamp out and wipe out inequity and inequality in our community. We have to register to vote, every single one of us, and make sure that we have our voices heard. And ever. We gotta make sure that all the people that mandated and died for us to be able to vote are honored when we make that selection on election day. Remember, change is persistent. Change has to be deliberate, and we have to stay vigilant as we drive a new type of policy in America. But that can't be done simply by just walking the streets. You gotta only walk the walk. You gotta talk the talk, and you gotta walk the talk. And you gotta be involved in every single Black child's life, because every single child matters. And while they are dying in our streets, we have to be the one that take them back, because not only are they killing us, but we're killing us too. And it's enough is enough. So just like we march when they're killing us, let's march in our streets to make sure that young Black lives matter. That all these young men and women that are dying in the streets of the Virgin Islands, that we answer that call as well. This is our community, and it's all up to us. I stand as your governor, as a representative of Black in our community, Black in our lives, and a Black that matters. It's going to change this nation. Thank you.